Hello, I'm Eric Shager, and in this video, I'm joined by Jared Middleton, Jacob Yockey, and Samuel Homer. We make up Pied Pipers, which is a group we've been working in to complete our senior capstone over the last 2 semesters. After observing food shortages in our community during the pandemic, we chose to design and develop a web application that could help minimize food waste by designing a solution to effectively connect various food donors to food banks. According to the USDA, an estimated 30 to 40% of our country's food supply is wasted. This is equal to about 133 billion pounds of food. Unfortunately, a large portion of this wasted food is perfectly fine for consumption. Because of this, the Pied Pipers development team believes that we can help reduce food waste in our community. Food banks in Pennsylvania rely on donations to provide food for families and individuals in need. Although many food retailers occasionally donate food, we believe that our project will increase donations and simplify the process. The Waste Not application will provide food retailers and food banks with an easier way to connect. This application will allow food retailers to post donations to the Waste Not marketplace. Likewise, the application will allow food banks to select the appropriate donations for their needs. We believe that this will increase food donations in our community and help those in need. As part of a 2 semester senior capstone in our computer information system major, we combine practice of system analysis and software development with a principle of human-centered design to create a food donation application. We built our system in sprints by capturing users' needs as users' stories that would drive various stages of system analysis, design, and development processes. The web application is a user-friendly, efficient, data-driven system and specifically designed for food donors to post items for donations that the food banks could locate and sign up for pickup. To begin our project, we had to develop design documentation. To give a general overview, visual representation of processes between external entities, we created a context diagram. This provides an easy to understand interpretation of the scope as well as the boundaries of the project. As well, we broke this down into a data flow diagram, which is a detailed explanation of each process shown in the context diagram. Business systems can often be daunting, so a well-established data flow diagram can be the difference between success and failure. Having a roadmap of the system allows technical and non-technical users to uncover missing elements and provide logic behind the flow of data within a system. Next, we created an entity relationship diagram, which shows the entities that would be stored in our database along with their attributes and how they relate to each other. Data is one of the most valuable elements when it comes to a business system. The entity relationship diagram works with the context and data flow diagrams to determine efficient communication within the entire system. However, an entity relationship diagram presents an illustration of business data rather than defining the process.
Next, we created user stories to put ourselves into the end user's shoes. User stories are a general overview of how a website or application works from the perspective of the end user. The purpose of the user story is to show how our work will provide value to the end user. We created a screen sequence as a visual breakdown of how the web application will operate from the user's perspective. This is an outline of all front-end activities, so the user has a clear understanding of how the application will function. We created a project plan to show the basic structure of how we plan to approach the development and implementation of this project. This document provides all relevant information regarding the length of development sprints, a Gantt chart displaying the work breakdown structure derived from our user stories, and the estimated date of completion.
We decided to implement this web application using a low-code, no-code platform called Mendix. Low-code applications use a visual development environment with pre-built functionality rather than coding from scratch, which vastly decreases production time, training, and expense. Although there were aspects of this low-code environment that sped up the development process, we did run into some difficulty implementing some ideas into the application. There was also a small learning curve as the resources were limited, so much of what we learned was self-taught through trial and error. This also reinforces the idea that working in the tech industry requires a lot of flexibility and the ability to learn on the fly. We approach problem solving by using a variety of concepts learned throughout our academics at California University of Pennsylvania. There was also no one answer when issues arose, but with the understanding of key concepts, this allowed us to problem solve using creative solutions. We produced a registration and login by establishing a role-based login that directs each user to their respective home pages. This used the concept of permissions and also the understanding of the relationship between entities.
Our application does not allow unregistered users to access data. Food banks and retailers must register first before submitting orders or uploading products. They fill out a normal registration page here. I've demoed that before while we were explaining other parts of our application. In order to solve our login problems, we actually had to use what's called a microflow. Microflows are the substitute for coding in Mendix. So this microflow allows us to determine where a user should be sent based on what their role is. So first it obtains the user's information from the database, decides what they are, administrator, empty, food bank, or retailer, and sends them to the appropriate page, which ends up being the landing page. It sounds very basic. A lot of these problems were not as easy to solve as that seems. Registered users will first be met with a login screen. At the login screen, they'll enter their details, a username and password. In this case, this is a food bank I made for this demo. A food bank can search for products. They can browse products by searching the store. They can add this one lonely apple to the cart. They'll be met with a pop-up indicating the product has been added to the cart. They can go and check their cart details here, and it will tell them who's uploaded this, what it was, when it was, and they can complete the order. They'll receive their confirmation screen with the information, and if they want to find out who it was uploaded by, they select the product and hit pickup details, and they will go to the product uploader's user profile, which will give them the information, including what the details of the hours. This retailer apparently doesn't have any hours. As a food retailer, you're able to upload products by hitting the Donate Product button, agreeing to the terms, and entering your product details. They must select the expiration date and categorize it appropriately. So this is a refrigerated item, and we will get some red meat. They can see if they have any active donations. This retailer has 2, some potatoes and some meat. They can select those to see what the actual value of any of the input information was. And they can check their donation history. So they apparently did have an apple that was donated and is in the cart of the previous retailer or the previous food bank we logged into and purchased. This donation history also shows at the bottom what the total value they've uploaded for this year is. If they have an issue, they can submit a ticket, selecting one of the radio buttons up here, inputting the information about it, selecting the date it occurred or the current date, and then that will be sent to the administrators. The other aspect of the food bank that I forgot to mention when I was on here is you can see the previous orders that they've done and who they purchased from, as well as the details of what that order was. In conclusion, there's no one solution to solving the food waste problem that we face here in the US. However, we, the Pied Pipers, feel that the first step is the most important. Our comprehensive application is a substantial step in finding creative resolutions to difficult issues by connecting food retailers to food banks and preventing high levels of waste. Not only is it for the greater good of our local communities, but it's also an ethical responsibility to the world we live in. As our team grows, we hope to continue evolving in this journey and create a better tomorrow.